So we have two speakers on the topic of young and clean, and the first speaker is going to be Hannah.
Thanks. I'm Hannah and I'm an addict.
Hi, Hannah.
Okay, this is really on the spot. I was just asked to do this like 10 minutes ago, but I'll talk very, very briefly about like before, kind of like when I first started to come in and how old I was when I first started to come around. The thought that I might be an addict and came to my first meeting, I was 15, and I kind of snuck into a meeting and I left. My parents went to meetings, so it was easy for me to pretend like I was just sitting in the meeting to sit in the meeting. But when I came, I didn't really come here first, because coming to NA, because my parents were in NA, were kind of the last, that was like my last option. Like that was only if I had to do that. So I avoided it for as long as possible. And I did therapy for a while, and, you know, I would talk to some of the people in the fellowship that were a part of a family for me about it. Like I would have kind of like small conversations about it with them, but I really just, first of all, I didn't feel like there would be anybody my age here. And second of all, if there were, they were all going to be my mom and dad. They were all going to be friends of my parents. They were all going to look at me badly. They were all going to be, they're never going to relate to me. I'm too young to be an addict came across my head a lot. You know, I'm just too young to know. But when I was 17, I had reached a point where I was so isolated and I was so terrified of myself that I had to do something. And I called somebody that was actually my babysitter one summer when I was in middle school from NA. And I called her, and, you know, she checked me in somewhere, and I came to my first meeting when I got out. And that was very scary for me. I was 17, like I said, and I was what felt like the only young person in the meeting. Definitely not in their teenage years. And when I picked up that first white key tag, even though I felt a lot of love and I did feel a degree of being at home, I still felt different. I kind of fought that for a while, and it was also very difficult because I tried to make this balance of hanging out with people my age, but not finding new friends. I know that now. I wasn't looking for people my age who were clean, but trying to hang out with people my age and hang out with people in recovery, and I kept relapsing. I felt like I couldn't relate to the people my age anymore, and I felt like I couldn't relate to the people in recovery either. I felt very stuck in the middle, and that feeling, that's still a feeling I have a hard time with today, is not feeling completely relatable here and not feeling completely relatable out there. But when I did finally get clean, I found out that being young and clean is a huge gift. I came to my first GRCNA last year, and it was my first time ever getting past 30 days. And that was a really cool experience for me. But something that came up for me was that because I was 17, I had a curfew, and I had to be in my hotel room by a certain time. I felt different, but nobody treated me different. Everybody took me to the meetings with them. Everybody hung out with me. Nobody treated me any differently. Everybody talked to me like I was Hannah, not like I was my parents or anybody else. That was last year was amazing. That was the first time I think I finally fought out of that I can't fit in here, because I was with these people, and it was just a really eye-opening experience for me. So also being young and clean has helped me a lot because it's kind of cool. I dropped out of high school. I should include that. I dropped out of high school shortly after getting clean. And I think that was the best decision for me at the time. Spring is something because my clean day is January 9th of 2015. I just celebrated a year. When spring came around, that was something that was hard for me. My old friends had kind of kicked me out. I didn't have any friends left out there when I got clean for that last time when I picked up my third or fourth white key tag, I think it was. All of my old friends were kind of like, I stopped going to the parties with them. I just didn't want to be around them getting high. And what I found out was that, all those times I tell my sponsor, oh, well, I can go there. We don't always just sit around and get high. And every time I would say, do you want to hang out? And they'd be like, yeah. I'd be like, are you guys going to get high? They'd be like, yeah. I'd be like, oh, well, then I can't come. And that pretty much turned into a year of not seeing them. Which is funny. I was in a lot of denial about that. But, pretty much every time I said, do you want to hang out? But there can't be drugs involved, any form of drugs involved. That pretty much cut those friendships off. So I was really nervous about spring because I was like, what in the heck? I am 17 and I'm clean. What am I supposed to do? Like, well, I'm supposed to sit at the beach and do what? Weird. But I went to Disney World with my family that spring. That was so cool. I was like, oh man, this is gonna suck. I'm gonna spend time with my parents in Disney World. But we brought my little cousin for her first time, and me and my mom don't get to spend a lot of good quality time together. We haven't gotten along since elementary. No, I don't know when me and my mom got along. But it was like the girls of the family vacation. It was my aunt, my mom, and me and my cousin, and it was all the girls in the family. And I think that was a huge, that was a gift to me in my recovery, that I could go and spend a whole week with my family and enjoy it. And we went to some meetings in Florida too. That was really cool. So I did that because I never went on family vacations when I was using. I always said, oh, I need to stay home and do homework, or I have a test that day, when really I just wanted to have the house to myself. So that was my first family vacation in a very long time. And it was so cool. And it was so cool to know that I was there and I was clean and I wasn't pitching a fit about how I want to go home now. I was actually spending time with my family. And I didn't think that would ever be something that I enjoyed, but it was. And it's cool that I get to have that memory with my family young. So I made it through the beach, and I did sometimes just lay on the beach and loved it. My 18th birthday started coming around that time too, and that was something I was nervous. I don't know why. It's not like you can really legally do anything at 18, but yeah, I was like, man, I remember planning my 18th birthday party when I was 17, and I knew exactly I had a plan. I was living on the lake at the time, so I really had a plan for my 18th birthday. And so at first I didn't want to do anything, but my sponsor at the time actually did something really cool for me. We went to a dance. We went out dancing together. And we had a big old group of us. There was I think there were 8 or 10 of us, and we all went out dancing. And it's funny because I know people were using there, but I didn't think about it at all. It was just us in our own little world, doing our thing, having fun. And like that's really cool because I had never been to a club before because I wasn't 18. I mean, I'm sure I could have found a way to get in, but it just wasn't something I did. So I got to go to my first club clean. That's so cool. Like, I can say that. Like, I'm an addict, but like I went to I don't know, that's just a really good feeling to me. Like, I'm so happy that I got to do that instead of going out and using. Like, we stayed there till 4 a.m. We were like the last people out there. We stayed there all night and we had a good time, but we didn't use. Some other things I found out is that like the feelings are the same no matter what the age is. Like the feeling, there's nothing, situationally, yes, a lot of things are different. But when I sit down and I talk to another addict, regardless of their age, and I say, this is what's happening, this is how it makes me feel, that this is what happening may not be relatable, but every time, without fail, I find somebody who goes, I know exactly how you feel. And over the summer, I got connected with some other people who were young in recovery. And that was so much fun. Last summer was a blast. We all hung out. We went hiking. We went to the lake. And what else did we did all kinds of cool stuff. Like, I got to be a teenager who was clean and had a good time with other people who were teenagers and clean. Okay, let me think about where I'm at now. Okay, so then that became a really big network for me, but they were from different areas, and also most of them were from other fellowships. And so I still felt very alone here in NA. But like the thing, people always talk about how like just because you're going through something, you're probably not the only one in the world going through it, and you're going through something for somebody else. And I think around September, there started to be a lot more of us in my area. And that's so cool. I'm so excited about that. I'm so excited that there's more of us. And because the experiences and the things I've gotten to do young and in NA are like amazing. Like, it's just so crazy. It's so crazy. It's so crazy. New Year's Eve this year, I'm trying to think of some things that I'm kind of all over the place, but New Year's Eve this year was hard. I've got a car now. I didn't have a car when I was using. I got a car while I was clean. I got a license while I was clean. Thank God my parents didn't let me get a license till I was 18 and clean because... But this New Year's Eve, I had my mom's car and I was ready to go. I had the jitters. I was about to celebrate a year, so I was kind of already in a weird place. And I was like looking, and seeing all the people my age and what they're doing on New Year's Eve and what I thought I would be doing when I was 18 on New Year's Eve. And I was kind of pissed. But I went to a meeting and I shared really honestly, and I said, I don't know what the hell I'm doing here. I'm 18, I've got my mom's car, I've got a job, and I'm in a meeting on New Year's Eve. What has happened to my life? Like, that's what I said. I was like, what has happened? But the thing is like, even though I think I make myself different in those situations because of age, but plenty of people came up to me afterward and said, this is my first year clean on New Year's Eve too, and this is hard for me too. I feel like age is something that my disease really loves to use against me. It's number one. That's the first thing. Every time I hear it talking to me, that is the first thing that it says. You're too young. You need to be out there. It's really hard, and you feel like you can't relate. But I know more and more, like the longer I stay, the less that matters. You know, our readings say, you know, regardless of age, race, sexual identity, creed, religion, or lack of religion. And that's really true. It was put to me when I was saying something about being young and how hard it is because I'm young and blah, 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 blah. I had a sponsor tell me once, like, if you're not too young to die, you're not too young to be here. And that's something I have to remember. It's really funny, too, that, like, I've always struggled with that, but now I have a sponsee who's only 14 in the rooms. She came in at 13. And so it kind of makes me not have an excuse because, like, she literally, you know, like, I'm 18 now. I turned 18 pretty early on in my recovery. Like, she has to deal with a lot of, like, I'm grounded, I can't go out. You know, there's, like, but she still shows up. And that gives me hope. And it's funny because it doesn't allow me to have an excuse because if she can do it, I can do it. And regardless of age, if y'all can do it, I can do it. This is just so, I'm trying to think of what else could relate here, but being young and clean is not as different as it seems. I focus a lot on that because I know that I do that a lot. I don't know what I would do if I didn't at least have parents who are in recovery. Because I can't imagine trying to explain that. That's not a part of my story. Luckily, it was pretty easy to explain. But I will say this, it was maybe harder for them to accept because being young in recovery, I remember specifically with my dad, it was until I picked up my first white key tag that he said, okay, you need to go to meetings. And it took me a long time to be comfortable in the rooms because my parents are in the rooms. Especially when I lived with them. But everybody doesn't, you know, I have the people that I like that consider me a daughter, and then there's other people who just don't, and even those people don't. They just don't treat me any differently. And if I'm ever feeling different, it's because I'm making myself different. I've done so many things, you know, like, moving out. Never moved out before in my life. It was on my 18th, a little shortly after I turned 18, and I had moved out. And it was just so cool to live with a bunch of people in recovery. That was my first place, moving out of my parents' house. It was never what I imagined it. I was, you know, expecting there to be like a whole little, I don't know. I definitely didn't say, you know, a year before that, oh, when I move out, I'm going to be a responsible adult. I definitely had a lot of plans on using when I moved out, but you know, I learned how to have responsibility through recovery. I had a lot of y'all help me. I didn't know how to pay bills, or I still don't know how to pay bills. I'm still really bad at it. Or quit a job instead of just leaving the job. Those are all things that I've learned young in recovery. I got my second job in recovery, and I have had a third job, and I've had a lot of different jobs, and each time you guys helped me become a little bit better in that area. Or school, you know, I still haven't done anything with my school, and I need to get my GED because a lot of you tell me that I can do it. So I know I can do it, and I know I won't have to walk through it alone. There are plenty of people in recovery who've gone back to school that I could get that experience, strength, and hope from. So, I don't know, it's like all those things I get to do clean, and it's amazing. Like moving out, getting a car, paying car insurance is something that I'm just now learning how to do. That like it's those kinds of things. Like, this is a life beyond anything I could have ever imagined, especially at my age. This is not somewhere I ever thought I would be. This is not someone I've ever thought I would be. You know, like, doing the work on the inside feels so good. The steps, you know, when I did that first step, that acceptance, it went a lot deeper than just being an addict for me. It went, you know, to accepting that I am my age and that that's okay. Accepting that, you know, these people do know my parents. That's okay. And being able to do this and know who I am, I feel like this is definitely something, and I don't know, that a lot of people my age don't get to have. And I'm so happy that I have it now. I'm so happy that, like, while entering the adult world, while learning how to be a woman, I also get to learn how to be a recovering addict. And learning how to be a recovering addict helps with learning how to be a woman and learning how to be an adult. And here's an excuse that I had for a long time not to listen to y'all because of my age. When you guys told me that I shouldn't be in a relationship for the first year, I was like, well, listen, I'm 17. I'm going to be in a relationship. And I found out that just because I'm 17 doesn't mean 18 now, doesn't mean anything. I stopped working on myself just like y'all said I would. And I got lost in it just like y'all said I would. And I started trying to be normal and not taking care of my disease and pretending like there wasn't one. And that's just another lesson in I'm not different. I ended that. I've been single now for the first time in a long time, but in my recovery for almost 2 months, and that's a big deal for me because our relationship hopped a lot in this process. And that's just like another lesson, like I'm not any different. Just because it may be just a little high school fling does not make me any different than anybody else. And so being young and clean is an amazing process, and I hope that if you're new and you are young that you stay because it is a beautiful journey. That's all I have.
Thanks, Thank you, Hannah. And our next speaker on Young and Clean is Kim.
My name's Kim. I'm an addict.
Kim.
Capital T Truth. I was hoping you'd continue talking, Hannah, just throughout the duration of the workshop. Oh, young in recovery. I'll be honest with you, when I got asked to speak, I was wondering why they chose me. I was like, I'm 32. My addict thinking automatically goes to the differences. But through the process of this workshop, it got me into the literature a little bit. I'm going to share a little bit. There's an IP called By Young Addicts, For Young Addicts, or something along those lines. And referencing that, it says, as young members, most of us didn't come to Narcotics Anonymous looking for a new way of life. We were just tired of the lives we had. We spent a lot of our time feeling angry, lonely, hurt, or scared. Getting high was the only thing that seemed to help, but drugs quickly began to make life even harder. We were tired of the pain and confusion, but we didn't want to consider the idea that drugs were making our problems worse. Regardless of whether or not we thought we were addicts, the idea of giving up on drugs was hard to imagine. If we did consider stopping, the idea usually didn't last long. And with that being said, I know for me, I was first told about Narcotics Anonymous at the age of 19. At the time, I was a college student. I was working on a bachelor's in music education, and I was high. I was into the music industry. I was traveling all over the world, and getting ready for a rehearsal one day, a guy approached my car, and I was getting ready to do a dose in the car because I thought using in that manner made me practice harder, study longer, and things of those nature, but it was a lie. And so when he caught me, he said, I used to smoke crack, and there's a program that can help us. I was like, what? Now, paranoid at this point, I was like, man, what are you talking about? I didn't do anything. And he was like, no, there's a program called Narcotics Anonymous, and it helps folks like you and me. I've been clean 2 years. There's a great meeting in Athens, and you should come with me. But I was like, nah, I'm solid, man. And I gracefully declined because I didn't think I had a problem. You know, on the outside, I was a college student, and I was living in the dorm, and, you know, I thought I was all right. And, you know, my disease progressed, and I had a full ride to college, and I lost that scholarship because I thought getting high was more important than going to class, and so I lost the scholarship, and you know, my disease really took off, and you know, it was being in the middle of a crack house at 4 o'clock in the morning after being raped that I was able to say, okay, I've had enough. And I went to my parents' house, crying, emotionally distraught, and I said, I need help. And so it was during that time, they thought that psychiatry could help me, and so they took me to this place called Laurelwood to see a therapist, in which case I did, and he said, you need Narcotics Anonymous. There's a meeting tonight upstairs. Just go to that meeting. So I was first introduced to the program in 2006. And I went to my first meeting, and I was shaking. I was terrified, and you know, I remember sitting in a circle. I couldn't sit still. I was jittery, and you know, somebody brought me a cup of coffee, and I was shaking. I mean, I just couldn't sit still, and I remember looking around, and I was like, man, I'm the youngest person in this room. Automatically went to the differences. Now, at the time, I hadn't been arrested or anything, so people were sharing during the meeting how, you know, were shooting dope and how they caught all these charges. And I was like, man, I'm not that bad. I've got this, you know. I just need to, you know, get healthy for a minute, you know, gain some weight since I only weigh about, you know, 82 pounds. I need to gain some weight and get my shit together a little bit, and then I can go back to it. I'll be all right. And that was my mentality. And I don't know. It's just I stuck around for a minute. I went to treatment. I didn't abide by the rules. I mean, I was trying to have an open mind, but I went to treatment. I didn't know how to wash clothes. These people wanted me to wash dishes, and I was like, man, I didn't get clean to get domesticated. This is not my area. This is not who I am. And long story short, I ended up getting kicked out of the house for inappropriate behavior with another resident, and we used. Is a very healthy relationship nonetheless, hence the sarcasm. But you know, I went back out, and my pride and shame kept me out for about 4 years, and I lost everything. The things I said I would never do as a means to feed my addiction, I did. I stole. Now imagine a little midget running into the Home Depot. I'm going to get 2 Echo chainsaws and run out the door while people are chasing me, but I'm not going to get caught. I mean, these are the things I did. I lost my apartment. I lived in a truck. I thought that was normal. I remember being in Atlanta off of James P. Brawley begging for money because I wanted $5 just to crank up the truck so I could get warm because it's snowing outside and I was cold. You know, and there are many days that, you know, there for a minute you don't eat, but maybe once a week while you're out there and, you know, just going to McDonald's and getting a McChicken for $1 to survive for the week, you know. I mean, just very sick and unhealthy behaviors. And I remember begging for money in the parking lot, and I used to watch people, and I was like, God, those people are normal. I'd hate to be them. That's how distorted my thinking was. And it's just this time my disease has kicked my ass, and I lost everything. I was mandated into treatment this last time, and I was still kind of young. I was 26, and I came back in, and I became willing to do whatever it took. And my clean date is March the 19th, 2010. And by the grace of God, I'm coming up on 6 years. And you know, even at that age, I think for me, for the longest time, I got clean and I struggled with boredom. Being young, having all this energy and recovery, I struggled with boredom. I didn't know what to do with myself. And part of the problem was I didn't know who I was. I hadn't worked a 4-step yet, you know. I was just getting clean. And, you know, through the process of working the steps and having the ability to get honest with a sponsor, I began to learn who I was. And this past year has been an opportunity for growth for me. I've been dating myself for 14 months now, something along those lines. And it's been a great experience for me because being so young, I would get lost in a relationship. I would lose my identity. And you know, this past year, I've really took the time to get to know who I am, what I like to do. And, you know, things early on in recovery, like I couldn't go out to eat by myself. I wouldn't go to the movies by myself because I thought I had to go with a group of people. I was trying to be cool, trying to fit in, you know, trying to adapt to the NA popular group or whatever. But it's just, I've really become okay with me today. If I want to go to the gym at 10 o'clock at night, I'd go. That's something I enjoy. It's like I get a rush off of it or something. I've never understood that concept. And, you know, I started taking yoga this past year, which is something I love. It's, you know, and if you would have told me when I first got clean that these would be some of my hobbies, I would have laughed at you, you know, because I still had that street mentality. I remember the halfway house director, when I first got clean, she would hug me and say, "I love you so much, dude." And I would be like, "Fuck you. You don't love me." But I didn't love myself. And you know, this program really opened their arms to me, showed me love and support until I could learn to love myself. And I feel like I've really begun that process in this past year. And I took notes on the pamphlet because I didn't find one at my home group last night. And another thing it says in the pamphlet, As young members, coming to terms with our sexuality in recovery can be difficult. Our experience with sex can include anything from our sexual orientation to breakups, pregnancy, unmanageability, confusion, and shame or guilt about things we've done or things that happened to us. Now, with that being said, I grew up in a very conservative atmosphere, and I'll be honest with you, I was ashamed of who I was, because I thought I was yet again different, abnormal, and it wasn't accepted in the town that I lived in. It's very common for me to go to a store and be called sir, and it is what it is. But people in Narcotics Anonymous, they don't give a shit. They love me and accept me regardless of age, race, sexual identity, creed, religion, or lack of religion. And to me, that's the unity within this program. That bond unifies us. And it's like, no matter what, we don't have to use, because that's our primary focus, no matter what. And that's empowering within itself. And I have days where I struggle, sometimes that depression to kick in, but that's where I pick up the phone and other women in this program lift me up, and I try to return that. It's a we program, not I, because I get high when left to my own devices. And, it's just, one of the things being young, quote unquote, I was terrified of things such as graduating, because those are things you celebrate with alcohol. Although alcohol wasn't necessarily my drug of choice, in today's society, I thought that was the norm. And through the process of staying clean and wanting to better myself, and as an amends to myself, I made the conscious decision to go back to college.
Okay.
And it was hard working full-time, going to school, trying to pay bills and be a productive member of society. But one day at a time, I suited up and showed up like this program has taught me. And I graduated with a 4.0 GPA. And I'm grateful for that. And I tell you, it was disheartening being a felon. It was hard to get a job, and I was like, okay, I just kind of accepted it. And I thought I was going to work in the fast food industry throughout the duration of my clean time. I just came to terms with it. I was like, it's an honest living. I'm not on the streets. I'm not selling what I used to sell, my body, my soul, my self-respect. No matter what, I suited up and showed up for that job for $7.25 an hour. And I showed up with integrity. I did what I was supposed to do. And I kept putting in applications. Because people in the rooms kept saying, somebody's going to give you a chance. Somebody's going to give you a chance. Just don't give up, no matter what. And I kept applying. Now, I got hired on at a place called Caterpillar. And once they found out I had a degree, they promoted me to the engineering department. And it's by the grace of God. And it's not about the material possessions. It's just, I suit up, I show up, I work an honest day's work, and I go home. I do the best I can with what I have. And I consistently work the steps. I call my sponsor at least 2 or 3 times a week. Otherwise, she'll ask me, what the fuck are you doing? I have to stay diligent within my recovery. I have people in my network who I touch base with on a regular, whom I love and adore and respect, and who also lift me up and give me new insight. And that's what this program is about. And of course, I got to check the time. But it's just I thought that life was going to be boring when I got clean. And it was hard at first. The first 18 months I struggled, because that monkey was still on my back, you know. It's like I was riding the fence. Do I want to get high or do I want to stay? And I stayed, and I'm grateful for that. And you know, I'm running out of things to say, but yoga breath. Thank you, Michelle. But I'm truly grateful for the gift of life today, because my addiction took my life for 1 minute and 19 seconds. And, you know, I died of an overdose. And it's just, I thought that that was the way life was going to be. And by the grace of God, I'm here today. I'm alive, I'm breathing, I have women in my life who love and adore me, and the feelings are mutual, and I try to treat women with respect today. I mean, there for the longest time I didn't, and you know, that's something I'm trying to work on. And no matter what we have today, we have this moment. And I'm grateful to be clean today. I love each and every one of you. And with that, I'm going to open up the floor. I love y'all. Thanks for letting me share.
My name's Michelle. I'm an addict.
Hey, Michelle.
We're going to open up the floor for sharing. If you'd like to share, please raise your hand.